Well, since I'm on a roll, second video I'm going to record today, and I want to talk about the video that I saw some time ago, which I really didn't like. And that is by YouTube channel, as soon as my phone wants to work, Smart Trucking. And, well, okay, I have 17 subscribers as of now. He has nearly 2 million. So, I know that it's bold of me to do something like this, but him and I am an ex-truck driver. He, as far as I'm aware, is still a truck driver, but he made a video titled 5 Reasons Why I Would Never Buy a Volvo. And I will make sure to find the video and link it. So of course I had to get me a Volvo. I hope I have the 18 speed. And, well, I disagreed with the majority of the things that he had to say about the Volvo. And I want to draw a line between it is not good and I do not like. So the very first point that he makes in his video, well, okay, before I get started with this, he talked at one point in the video. Do you think the Swedes back in Sweden are buying Peterbilt? Well, no, they're not, and the reason was because Peterbilt is not sold in Sweden. Peterbilt only makes one cab over as of now. It's the 362. I think they're still making them to this day, but they, how can I say this? They now I'll go to Las Vegas. Yeah, I go to Las Vegas. They're not being sold there because, well, we already have a lot of cab overs, and if Peterbilt were to introduce their cab over there, it would do what a truck does, but it would have a worse turning radius. It will have worse turning radius, it will be heavier, which means it consumes more fuel, and it probably wouldn't pass some of the fuel regulations, and so that's why Peterbilt doesn't sell the 362 in Europe, at least. I think that's why. Obviously I don't work for Peterbilt, and I don't know why they haven't. I suspect that is why. But why did Sweden decide to pass their business here in, well, there in North America? Because obviously they're making this halfway across the planet. And, well, they have decided that it was going to be worth it to spend all of this money to design a whole new truck, set up factories, and you know, start the whole assembly process and the sales and everything. They thought it would be worth it. Well, when I was a kid, I obviously, just like anyone else who likes truck, I thought, oh, the North American trucks are the coolest. They look the coolest. And you know what? Yeah, they do. But now that I have driven American trucks, really, other than the cool factor, North American trucks, they don't really have anything. That's the problem. They don't really have anything other than, or they look really cool. Because in comparison to a European truck, which is a cab over, well, they're bigger, which means they're heavier, they have worse fuel economy because they're much heavier, and because they're heavier it also means that their suspension and the tires and their engine get worn out more quickly, so that means they need more regular maintenance in theory. And it's just overall the only reason as of why the North American trucks are the way they are is just for raw horsepower, just the ability to stick in a massive engine. I have looked into the history of North American trucks because there used to be cab overs and now they're basically gone. And I have talked to a lot of old school truckers. Why are there no cabovers in North America anymore? And the majority of the thing that I said, there are two answers that I got was, well, first of all, they were extremely uncomfortable because back then the axle was right underneath the seat, and that was at a time when you did not have those kind of seats. They were quite literally bolted to the floor, and it was extremely uncomfortable, which is why a lot of them apparently call them backbreakers. And the other one is a lot of drivers felt unsafe. They felt that if they ever ended up in a head-on collision, they'd prefer to have an engine in front of them. I have actually had this kind of discussion on the World of Trucks forum when someone said, if you trust an engine block to save your life, you really need to reevaluate. And I really agree, because it's not the fact that the other truck physically touches you that kills you. It's the fact that you stop violently. And in this case, it will not make any difference because obviously there is going to be a mass difference with the longer frame, the hood, the bigger engine. So there's going to be a big mass difference between a cabover and a conventional or long nose. But in a head-on collision, it doesn't really matter that much. And besides, that argument is completely invalid because the engine is actually designed to go down so it doesn't go through your dashboard and crushes your legs and crushes your intestines. So the whole the engine block saves my life is completely invalid, 100%. It is not valid. So his first point, and I do have the video pulled up, I might have to pause the game every now and then to actually read because he was nice enough to put it in the description. And he has talked a lot about how can I say that? About this being his opinion. Though I have briefly rewatched the video, so that I could actually get reminded, and I make sure that I don't miss-say something or put more words into his mouth, like we say. So the first point he says is they all look the same. Well, I'm sorry. Have you ever been to a North American truck show? They all look the same too. I'm going to assume that he's an old school person, so he probably likes old American classics. How many bright red 65 Ford Mustangs with chrome bumpers have you seen? So the fact that they all look the same is, I actually think, the stupidest of all of his arguments. Because you can say that about anything, but particularly about North American trucks. Over all of them were just American pre-1980s. Well, even in the 1980s, if you look at cars such as the all of the Cadillacs and the Chevys, what about the 57 Bel Air, the 59 Cadillac? You ever seen them restored? They look the same too, don't they? But I don't hear him complain about them. And I just want to point out, by the way, I should have said that first, that I'm not here to insult him or anything. He is right to have his opinion. I'm not saying, well, in this case, I'm saying he is wrong, because I think that of American, European, and Asian vehicles, trucks, and cars, I think that the American vehicles are the ones that look the most similar. At least if you are a car person and you're into GDM, if you're into those, the Supra and the NSX and all that, at least you have a lot of diversity down to things such as body kits, hoods, rims, interiors. They have a lot of diversity, but not the North American vehicles. They all look the same. Look at the Tesla. They all look the same. Though he would probably say that because I actually don't think he would be a Tesla lover. But I mean, you look at the Peterbilt 359. I mean, just look at my here my Peterbilt. How many Peterbilts with the tall stacks? I mean, I have the one curved, but what about the straight stacks? Or are they? Where are they? Those. How many trucks with those stacks with that low roof and those double dual headlights have you seen? What more is there? Well, there's the Cascadia, but that doesn't count. 49X. Well, Lone Star doesn't really count. W900. Perfect example. I mean, they basically all look like that. Not the paint job and not the front grill guard, but man, they all look like that. And this, by the way, I want to look at it when I have this open, is going to be my next point to the one which is that there is no hood. You see how far forward that front axle is? It's behind the front bumper. Look at this massive gap here that this axle could be back. Here, I understand there's the fuel tank. Then there is the steps, which are of course necessary. Back in the days, the fuel tank would actually go underneath here, and the cab would be smaller, and the steps would be bolted on the fuel tank. Now this could double as a toolbox, so that's a smart use of space. This isn't right here. There's what, about 2 feet, a 2 foot gap between the wheel, and this is unnecessary. That makes the truck give a horrible turning radius. Here in the back, it's not too much of a problem because here you do have a step, which is as narrow as possible, while also not being too dangerous to climb, and a toolbox. There isn't on the other side, but you're not going to have the rear axles asymmetrical. So this is for symmetricality purposes, but then why not put a toolbox here? I don't understand. But still, this is completely unneeded and unnecessary. If you looked at my Volvo, on the other hand, look at that. You have the steps and the wheel is right there. The wheel is partially underneath the hinges for my front door. That's great. That means the cab is shorter, and that means I have a better turning radius. Now he's going to complain about the hood, and he's going to talk about the fact that you can't see it. Yeah, okay, so he's complaining that I can see better in front of me, that I can turn better, and that I have better fuel economy. That's his complaint. I think that's really stupid. And I'm saying I think because obviously he disagrees with me. Those are opinions. And if he's willing to sacrifice visibility, turning radius, and fuel economy just for the sake of looking cool, that's on him. I can't say anything about it. But I completely disagree with him. And the only good point that I actually agreed with him in some extent is hitting a moose. He's saying that if you have a very tall hood that will just hit the moose, it will destroy the truck, but it will also destroy the moose. Well, if you have this inclined hood that would hit the legs of the moose, but it will go underneath his body because mooses are really tall, that will make the moose roll on top of the hood and go through your windshield. Fine, that's a fair argument. I can go with that. And you know the best argument would just be, well, don't hit the moose. Yeah, okay, but sometimes you just can't avoid an accident. Sometimes it just doesn't. You can't avoid all accidents, which is why I hated safety when you work for mega cars and like, all accidents are preventable. No, they're not. You just say, I understand you're saying that to motivate people to not get into accidents, and by making them take responsibility if they do go and take into an accident, but I don't think that you should lie in order to do that. You should just tell things as they are. You shouldn't lie in order to motivate people. So that was his second argument, is that there is no hood. I know he doesn't do it in the literal sense of the word, because obviously there is a hood. Oops, I'm actually quite far forward. And it's actually not that small of a hood. It takes almost a third the length of my cabin sleeper. So it's not a small hood. It's just that Sweden understands that they are drivers who want better visibility, better turning radius, because okay, if he wants to sacrifice fuel economy, that's his wallet. If he wants to sacrifice visibility, that's his problem. But when it comes to turning radius, I drove the Peterbilt 579, which had a terrible turning radius. Everyone told me that the Kenworth C680 had the worst turning radius. No, I disagree because I've driven both, and I have been in spots with other trucks that the 579 would have never backed into, and yet those spots were all in New England. So if you want a tight turning radius, obviously, if you are driving a Kenworth W900 or a Peterbilt 359 or 379, you are screwed. There will be some spaces that you can't even back to because there's a wall in the way that prevents you from getting in there, or there's another truck and the driver is being an a-hole and he doesn't want to move for you. So the no hood thing is second stupid too. They all look the same because they all look the same thing is just plain stupid. It just is. I mean, he can't just say I don't like the way they look, but the all look the same thing is stupid because so do North American trucks, and I like the fact that I can see in front of me, so I do like my inclined hoods, and that's just where I'm going to leave it. His third point, they are ugly. That is an opinion. That's completely fine. I didn't know what you think of when I first saw them. They've grown on me. The only thing I don't like about it is that I do like to see my fuel economy and my distance to empty and my cruise control, but unfortunately they're all on separate panels, so I have to cycle between the panels on the dashboard. And by the way, if anyone doesn't know, there is a camera zoom that comes unbind. I have mine set to Z on the Finish keyboard, and cycling through the dashboard is I like India. So, his fourth point, that they have poor resale value. That I don't know, I never actually owned a Volvo. This very specific model of Volvo I've only driven once as part of the end of my training, so that a trainer could tell that I actually knew what I was doing and that I wasn't an unsafe driver. And then the fifth one is I prefer to buy North American trucks to support the North American market. Well, to that I have to say, you should never buy anything from Samsung because it's Korean, or Panasonic because that's Japanese, I believe. If you want to buy all American, it's almost impossible. So, for example, I don't know. What about cars? Does he drive a Ford? Well, maybe, but even in a lot of cars, well, not Ford, but there are a lot of partnerships with Germany, so there will be a lot of German parts in some vehicles. For example, when I owned a Range Rover Land Rover once, which no, it was a 2001 model, and the guy only sold it for a few $1,000s because he didn't want money out of it. He just wanted to get rid of it because he had 3 Land Rovers and he didn't want 3 Land Rovers, so he just wanted to get rid of it as quickly as possible. I absolutely love that car, but even though Land Rover is British, when you open the hood, you saw everywhere made in Germany. That's just how it is. You just have, if you want 100% American, it's almost impossible. But to which I have to say, you see this thing right here? It's kind of in the dark, but right there behind the seat, that seat belt, that 3-point seat belt, Volvo invented that. Before that, it was the lap seat belt, which I believe was invented by Ford. But so if he wants to 100% support Walkie, to be fair, I have heard that Volvo gave away the design for free because they prioritize safety over business. They wanted everyone to be safe even if they wouldn't make any money out of it. But still, it's a Swedish invention. If you want to support something all-American, you should never drive a vehicle that has the 3-point seatbelt, which means that you will never drive a vehicle built after, I believe, 1973, I think? No, no. But I understand that he's, well, I can't even say that he's strong patriotic American because if I remember, he's Canadian. He's from British Columbia. But I do see some patriotism, and I think that he has stretched it a little bit too far to the ridiculous, claiming that they all look the same. I mean, they're ugly is an opinion. They all look the same is just plain wrong. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. And I mean, and again, with the hood thing, if he is willing to look cool at the cost of visibility, turning radius, and fuel economy, that's his problem. But I just wanted to tell that. And I'm not even one of those modern, everything is electronic kind of person, because of the video that I'm actually still uploading right now, when I was reviewing the Western Star 57X, and I went on a half an hour rant talking about why the technology in modern trucks actually gets in the way instead of helping you, and it's not necessary if you actually know what you're doing and you don't rely on the technology to just drive the truck for you. It doesn't drive the truck for you, it's just meant to help you. But yeah, overall, a lot of people hate the Volvo because it's Swedish and it's not American, you know, and he even tells in the video, real trucks have to have a hood. This is a real truck. You may not like it, but this is a truck. All of the real, like, oh, real truck, or real men do this, real men do that, you know, real truck drivers do this, real truck drivers do that. That is very toxic to say. It's just horrible. It's cringe, and I don't understand people who are like that. Like, what do they think? Do they think, do they think that whenever they talk crap about
直進です。
someone, that person is going to look at them and be like, oh wow, this truck driver who is probably addicted to cocaine and breaks all the rules in the law just to flip the middle finger to DOT and the police, and who talks crap about everyone. He's such a role model. I wish I was like him. Do they really think that this is how newbie drivers look up at super truckers? No. What we think, and I'd say we because I was a newbie at a point, and of course I've seen my share of super truckers. What I think is, oh my god, what
直
an
進です。
asshole! I wish he blows a tire. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say I wish they die. I mean, wishing someone to die is a bit stretched. You know, you're not going to wish someone to die just because they're being an asshole to you. But yeah, you know, I just wish, you know, I really hope that they stop having such a big ego, because the problem with super truckers and the big trucks and their shifter that reach the ceiling, is a lot of them have a big ego. Oh, speaking of which, yeah, since I was talking about the stick shift that reached the ceiling, what about those trucks with the chrome everything interior and the blue light or green light, the shifter that reach all the way to the ceiling? I do like that window, by the way, and that custom steering wheel. Usually it's a Peterbilt. Seriously, there are so many of those. I follow a lot of truck pages on Instagram, and I love to watch reels, but how many of those trucks are there? And I think they're ugly. I don't understand people who drive not only with their back solo as if they were sitting on the sofa at home, but with the stick shift that is so high up that they can barely reach it. And I mean, how do they drive like that without breaking their back? How is this not uncomfortable? Even the monkey bars on Harley Davidsons look more comfortable, and I've always thought that they look uncomfortable as hell. So yeah, this is me talking about Smart Trucking's video on the Volvo. Most of the things were opinions, and the facts that they were on there were wrong. Um, and if he wants to look cool while supporting the North American, not industry but economy, that's on him. But I think that the points that he should make
直進
should
で
be
す。
good points. You can't say, oh, this. Well, okay, fine. The video is titled "Why I Wouldn't Buy a Volvo," so just from the title alone, you should know that these are opinions and not facts. But again, the few facts that they are wrong, such as again the trucks all looking the same. And honestly, I mean, the inside of the Volvo, at least, I think is the inside of a truck is what's most important, because this is what you're going to save for up to 12 hours a day. Well, actually, up to 14 hours a day if you drive, if you work your full clock. You can drive 11 hours but work 14. So this is what you're gonna see, and this is what should be important. They have made very good use of storage, and they have made the place just very livable, and it's just a well-designed truck in my opinion. I understand that usually companies will drive them super cheap and wide. If you go into vehicle list and you select the Volvo, yeah, load Steam inventory, yes, and you select the Volvo. Where is it? This is how they'll look like with this cheap plastic mirrors and the base. Well, actually, they wouldn't even have those wheels. They would just have the basic steel wheels, which is really bad idea because if it's steel instead of aluminum, it can rust. Aluminum does not rust, and these trucks are really bought cheap. But I don't think that those should should set the standards, because that's obviously the lowest of the low. It's like the Freightliner Cascadia. When I drove the Cascadia, it honestly didn't even look that good. It was a lot worse. It it was just terrible in every way. It was ugly, and it didn't work good. Though I'm at least good that the high trims are at least good, because I don't want to talk bad about this Cascadia just because it's a Cascadia. You need to have a good reason to not like something, and there are facts and there are opinions. So, for example, I don't like the Mack Anthem in American Truck Sim because it is underpowered. It only has a 505 horsepower engine, which is the weakest, and you end up having a very bad fuel economy in the Mack Anthem because you spend the majority of the time on the road actually trying to reach the
右
speed
車線で
limit,
す。その
in
後、
contrast
右
to
に出
a
口です。
light truck such as the Volvo, which will reach the speed limit without any problem.
右の出口です。
It seems like I have the 13 speed. I don't think it's a problem. And I just I don't really want to
左方向です。
talk in circles here. I think I've made my point. Oh, there it is. Here's that car. How many times have you not seen a car like that? But it's Cadillac, a 59 Cadillac. It would usually be pink or red, bright red. You know, the bright metallic red. So I really think that they all look the same. Is the stupidest of all the arguments. Really, of all the arguments. The second comes the no hoot though. Can you please go? Oh yeah. Well, this is where I'm going to end. It's another half an hour rant, but yeah, I don't want to talk. Well, I know I've been talking negative. I don't want to talk negatively about the person of Sport Trucking. I forgot his name. I'm sorry. I don't mean to insult him. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about his points. I am going to make him disappear, and at the same time change my truck. So I'm an extremely small channel, and I'm doing this for fun. I'm not doing this as a job, or I don't want to do this as a job or anything. And I think I will remain small on YouTube. This isn't an attack or anything, and I don't think this video will ever reach him. But those are just my opinion as a younger. Oh my as a younger truck driver from another generation, but I have done my best to try to keep things on a neutral point of view as much as possible, and make sure to specify when I've said an opinion or a fact. And well, we're two different people, two different generation. We have two different point of view and likes and things that we want in a truck. So hopefully the video was somewhat entertaining, and probably a bit longer than they should have been, but well, there it is, and I hope you have a good day.